Welcome back, I'm
Stupid c***. The helium prank was performed on my birthday. We'd been to TGI Fridays where there were some helium balloons. We always planned to go to Richard's book signing because we're fans of his, but literally on the way, I thought of this idea. My original idea was actually not how the prank is presented in this webisode. My original idea was to ask him to inhale from the balloon with no helium, so that when he spoke in a normal low voice, he'd be shocked and confused that it wasn't the high-pitched one that he would have expected to come out. However, I then realised that he'd probably unintentionally speak in a high pitch and turn the prank into what it became, an experiment in human psychology. I'm going to take this opportunity to respond to some of the comments I received by viewers. Comment 1 was about Richard and me. It said, an ass and a cock together. I replied, which am I? Answer, the cock, because I f***ed him, then pissed on your comment. Comment 2 was made by a news website editor, and also a radio presenter made a very similar comment. The comment was, so you're given a helium balloon filled with helium, except there's no helium in it. That's what happened to Richard Madeley, who thought he'd better pretend to have a squeaky voice anyway. To clarify, the joke is me turning up with a handful of helium balloons and passing one to him that I'd previously emptied of all helium and blown back at myself without his knowledge. So at this stage, he's thinking that he's inhaling helium, and despite not actually doing so, the high-pitched voice comes out because he is subconsciously expecting it to. At no point was he aware that he wasn't inhaling helium. Comment 3 was in response to what I said in the video just after the prank. I said I couldn't resist because I had some helium balloons on me. In response to that, someone commented, I thought they just had oxygen in them. First of all, I'm not sure why this viewer is confused. I thought it was obvious that I had some balloons with helium, since I was holding some that were floating in the air in full view of everyone, which I took along for realism. But I went on to explain that the one I gave him didn't have helium in it. Secondly, his comment went on to suggest that he'd caught me out, like I was contradicting myself and he'd now exposed me. If I was indeed tricking my audience and the joke wasn't what I said it was, I definitely wouldn't willingly contradict myself in my own video as he suggested, so I'm afraid he's misunderstood the situation there. Since there were actually a lot of people that didn't get it, I don't know whether to take responsibility for perhaps not explaining the prank properly in the video or not. Looking back, I do feel that I adequately explained it, though it's a shame some didn't get it because my intention is to entertain everybody. In reality, it's probably that the people just watched it casually and aren't into it as much as I am, so from that point of view it's understandable. When I put the video up originally, I put my contact details up with it and was contacted by various media, which I was really happy about. Now, I'm completely aware that it was his involvement that got the media coverage, but that's why I did it in the first place. I knew they'd write about it, so you make your own luck, as they say. I like in the newspaper, the first 10 pages were about Barack Obama, then page 11 had the helium prank on it, as if that was the second most important news of the day. What's completely lost when a viewer watches the prank is the usual story whereby you don't see how hard it was to actually get permission from the store to film it in the first place, let alone blow a balloon in his face. Similarly, I was pleased that I asked him to say his catchphrase of welcome back, but that too was hard to actually request, as I got the impression that everyone there probably thought there was something wrong with me, which my family would say there is. I was interviewed by a radio station about my history of filming videos, and I offered to wait by the phone in case they wanted to speak with me live on air. It turns out they didn't, but I didn't mind waiting. It was a 4-hour show and I waited the whole time, just in case. Actually, a funny story during the wait was that my mum was reading a local newspaper which reported a rape in the town centre from the night before. I jokingly said, "Oh, did you say that happened yesterday? Because that was me who did the rape, I forgot to tell you." And she was really shocked and said, "What, really?" I said, "Obviously not." I'm now going to read the Sun's national newspaper article about the incident. TV's Richard is full of hot air. Telly favourite Richard Madeley squeals and squeaks in this hilarious video after being duped into thinking he has inhaled helium. A cheeky prankster fooled the 53-year-old host into believing he had sucked helium from a helium-filled balloon which really only contained oxygen. Wannabe webcomic, well, I do want to be a webcomic, Edward Harris, had pleaded with the chat show king to give him a birthday message after sucking back helium, and despite the balloon only containing oxygen, Richard still put on a high-pitched voice. The footage, shot during a recent book signing, has now been placed on the internet. Introducing the clip, unknown Harris says, everyone knows when you inhale helium from a balloon you speak in a high-pitched voice. But what if you led someone to believe there was helium in that balloon when there really wasn't? Would they still speak in a high-pitched voice because of human psychology? Who better to be the test subject than UK celebrity Richard Madeley? Harris, clutching a bunch of balloons, collared his victim at W.H. Smith's store, where Richard was signing copies of his book, Brothers and Sons. He invited the star to wish him a happy birthday after breathing in a lungful of helium. After taking a small breath, Richard scored to a very happy birthday, Edward. Gaffer and presenter Richard then hands the Joker a signed book before chuckling, there you go, mate. Well, listen, happy birthday. Have a great day. Thanks for coming down. Soon after, Tubby Harris rushes to his mum and dad to relay what happened. The embarrassing episode was recorded by an unknown third person, that's Tina, before it was posted on the web. The clip was posted on video sharing website YouTube on Monday for Harris miniseries Laugh or Cry TV. Harris said, I actually really liked meeting Richard Madeley. He's one of my favourite TV personalities. He was really professional, really polite, really nice, and I bought his book, but I couldn't resist because I had some helium balloons on me. Now, here's some of the sound bites from some radio coverage. It was mentioned throughout the radio show, but here I've just put the clips one after another, which may explain why they suddenly change.
Have you ever fallen foul of a prank? Richard Madeley, you may have spotted this one in the papers. He certainly has. It's a story whereby he was at a book signing session, and obviously the general public there, and somebody who's got a piece now on YouTube, which I took a look at last night and again this morning, very, very funny, went along and said to Richard Madeley, oh, I've got a helium-filled balloon, would you just like to? And obviously, I mean, don't try this at home, kids, it's not big, it's not clever. But if you inhale the helium, then suddenly you speak like Mickey Mouse. Yeah. But the person in question hadn't filled the balloon with helium at all. It was just your bog standard oxygen that you found. So he played along with it, Richard Madeley. Oh yes, I know how to speak. And the guys looking, and he was a real gotcha of sorts.
Fantastic.
So this afternoon, I'm asking you to think long and hard. Have you ever set up a scam, a real good joke on someone? Now, you may have spotted this one in the paper. Richard Madeley falling foul of a wind-up. We thought we'd talk wind-ups this afternoon on the show. A fellow by the name of Edward Harris fooled Richard Madeley into believing that he'd sucked from a helium-filled balloon, and despite the balloon only containing oxygen, Richard Madeley decided to play along with the prank and still going into a very high-pitched voice. Now, I went onto YouTube last night to see this audio evidence and looking at it again today, and you can't help but think, Richard, you made a complete prat of yourself there. Edward then, of course, posting this clip on YouTube for his mini-series Laugh or Cry TV, which we've lifted so you can take a listen to this afternoon. So this is a book signing session. Richard Madeley suddenly approached by this prankster Edward Harris with a balloon which he thought was full of helium. Take a listen.
So a very happy birthday, Edward.
Poor fella. Just playing along with it, I suppose. Richard Madeley becoming the victim of a prank by a fella called Edward Harris, who posted that clip on YouTube. We played you the audio there. Also, from our last hour together, we're hoping you're going to get involved with this one. Richard Madeley in the papers today, falling foul of a wind-up. He was at a book signing session, and there he was met by a fellow by the name of Edward Harris, who fooled Richard Madeley into believing that he'd sucked from a helium-filled balloon. Despite the balloon only containing oxygen, Richard's still putting on a high-pitched, squeaky voice. By the way, inhaling helium-filled balloons, it's not big, it's not clever, don't try this at home, but it's a case of Richard Madeley falling foul of that particular prank. From the papers, you may have spotted this story, Richard Madeley falling foul of another wind-up. We've got a fella by the name of Edward Harris, who's fooled Richard Madeley into believing that he'd sucked from a helium-filled balloon. Despite the fact that the balloon only contained oxygen, Richard Madeley is still putting on one of those high-pitched Mickey Mouse voices, which would be the case had he have taken in any helium from a helium-filled balloon. But the balloon contained nothing but oxygen. That clip has now been posted on YouTube for Edward's little mini-series, Laugh or Cry TV. We lifted the audio, we played it out a little earlier today. Richard Madeley in the news today, falling foul of a prank at a book signing session. For that reason this afternoon, I'm asking you to get in touch if you've got a tale or two to tell on the subject of pranks. It's very similar to this spoof that Richard Madeley has fallen for, inhaling what he thought was helium out of a balloon, speaking in a squeaky voice, and there's no helium in the balloon in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a mind over matter kind of a scenario, isn't it?
Absolutely, but it was good at the time.
Not so sensible this afternoon, a story that I spotted in the papers, Richard Madeley, book signing session, and he's fallen foul of a prank. Somebody wanting one of his books signed have actually asked Richard to inhale what he thought was a helium-filled balloon. So he's there talking in a squeaky voice. and all along the balloon was just filled with oxygen. There was no helium in it, full stop, period. So he's fallen foul of that gag, which is now available to download on YouTube.